All right, man. I'm excited. Thank you. This is a cool opportunity.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
So, I just want to welcome everybody to today's episode. Thank you for joining us. I'm Justin Garland. This is Footnotes with yours truly, Justin Garland. And we're sitting here with Mark Sevillano.
Yep.
Did I say that right?
You did.
I
But
did?
you forgot the junior. Mark
Junior.
Sevillano Jr.
My bad.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is, when I was thinking about it earlier,
Yeah.
I'm like, I think that's the way to say his last name.
No, you
And
said
then
it
Junior
perfectly.
came up, and I'm like, he is a junior. And I'm like, watch, I'm not going to say it, and he's going to correct me. I already know this.
No, it's all
That's
good.
funny.
Yeah, Mark Sevillano Jr.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Because my dad's Mark Sevillano, and then I'm Junior, so I got to make that distinction.
Got to.
So yeah.
And we got the
Yeah.
lovely baby with us. She's probably not in a
Yes.
picture right now, but she'll be
Aw.
pitter-pattering all over the place.
Yes.
Thanks for
yes.
coming in today, dude. I really appreciate it.
Of course, it's good to
Yeah.
be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
So, I really thought about asking you, and obviously, I don't want to say obviously because it's not always obvious, but I prayed about it first, and then I was like, yeah, let's have him on. And as I started to think about, because I know I had told you, like, yeah, I'll send you questions, which I
Right.
typically normally do.
Right.
And what I realized was normally they never look at them.
Yeah.
This is so true, right? None of the guests that I've had on have ever looked at the questions before.
Oh my
You
gosh.
know, which is kind of funny. Actually, I think Alex did,
Oh, okay.
but as he tells me, he's kind of skimmed through them real quick, you know. But you didn't really get a chance to kind of dive into them. But I started to think about it, and I thought, you know what? Mark and I have always had just really good conversations.
We have.
And I'm sure that this will be just another one of those moments where
Yeah.
we get to have a very open conversation. You
Yeah.
know?
No, it's so true.
So,
yeah.
some of the things that I wanted to talk about, just so that we can kind of have some sort of direction
Yeah.
to the conversation.
Of course.
You know, we've known each other for, what, maybe 9 years now?
About
that,
8,
right?
9 years. Mm-hmm.
And just so everybody knows, Mark's also an author. Okay, he's an accomplished. I call him an accomplished author. Okay, accomplished would be you actually wrote a book,
Right.
published it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So with your book, because it's been a while.
It's gonna be 10 years next year.
Dang.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna. Not a lot of people know this, but I'm going to release it on its 10th anniversary.
Really?
Yeah.
I just got chills.
And there's gonna be an updated cover, and
Wow.
it's just gonna kind of, be a freshly, a little bit of a revision. But yeah, the 10th anniversary
That's so cool.
next year.
Can you dive in a little more
Yeah.
on that?
Yeah, so a lot has changed within the past 10 years. You know, I became a father right after writing my book, and then my ex-wife and I went through a divorce. We're actually still going through the divorce right now. So that, was a big change in my life as well. So those two changes, and then just getting more life experience and stuff like that really I purposely released the book back, 10 years ago, promptly, because I was like, you know what, I want to just put it out there and be a young author, and, we could worry about anything later, you know, as far as like, oh, he may not be credible because he doesn't have years of experience under his belt, or, this guy's just a kid, what is he writing about, stuff like that. So for me, I looked past all of those criticisms or possible criticisms, and I said, I'm going to release it now so that we can capture this moment in time. And this is truly, how I felt, what I lived through, what I went through, and it was fresh. And so that's why it was very important for me to just release it and not wait until I became more seasoned or more experienced and stuff like that. So with this re-release, now I feel like I'm only going to add like a page or two prior to all of my, chapters, and just kind of update the reader and just say, this is a 10th anniversary. A lot has changed, and I hope you enjoy the book.
That's so cool.
So, yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I'm nervous because I was very vulnerable writing that book. It's called The Choice I Made When I Was 23.
Right.
And I still stand behind the book. You know what I mean? Like, although so many circumstances in my life have changed, the fundamentals of it, I still believe. It's not like I changed my faith or I changed my stance on things. It's like, it really is just from a different perspective now that I'm older.
I like that.
So, yeah.
So I was going to ask what's changed, but it kind of sounds like you did answer that question already.
Yeah.
Unless there's other things that you want to dive into.
I mean, the only thing really to add to what has changed is I think a lot of people took away from the book that the ultimate goal was to be married and have a wife and be successful, and that was kind of like, oh, we're gonna praise Mark because he's gone through so much during childhood and adolescence, and now he's a married man, and look at he's so like and now that I'm not married, it's like that I realize that's actually not the goal. That's a perk, and that's a benefit, and that's a really I love people who are married, but I don't want people to continue with that misconception 10 years later that Mark's goal was to get married and now all of his struggles have gone away. It's like, that's not the goal, So I think I want to emphasize this time around that the true goal is really to know your creator and know yourself, and to be convicted by those things instead of I gotta get married, I gotta and we could talk about my viewpoints on having arrived or arrived to specific points in your life, and I think we're in a constant state of becoming, and so I think that's a huge difference as well. So there's a lot of differences, but I think the main thing I want my readers, my fresh readers, my old readers, my new readers to know is that just to be aware of the ultimate goals. A lot of people in life think family, house, white picket fence, like that's the ultimate goal. Right. And although that's beautiful and I highly recommend that, it shouldn't be our personal inner goal. You know what I mean? Right. So, because you could have all of that, and still not be fulfilled and not be happy, or you could arrive to that point and feel empty. Right. You know. So,
I love it. So, it's one of the things that you just said right now was, you touched on how we could still have these things that we've wanted, right? That we thought were the goal, and then still have an unfulfilled life. Could you say, and I don't know, right? But did you ever feel unfulfilled where you were and what you had gotten? Does that make sense?
Yeah. When I was in that time period of my life, did I feel unfulfilled? I wouldn't go as far to say that I felt unfulfilled, but I knew there was more.
Nice.
I did know that. I did have a sense of there's more. I know I'm capable of more. I know that I have more dreams and more things I want to accomplish. So going back to what I said about we're in a constant state of becoming, I think that really changed the game for me, because oftentimes we want to say, I want to be the best dad, and that pressure of being the best dad, you just have that like weighing over your shoulders and weighing on top of you. I want to be the best father.
That makes sense.
But then if you have that understanding that I'm working towards becoming a really great dad, I'm becoming a great dad more and more every day, it relieves that pressure, and you're not like, I have to be a great dad. You're like, I'm becoming a really good dad every day. So it's like that shift. It's like, do you want to have that pressure of I have to be the world's greatest dad? Or do you want to have that understanding of every day I'm working towards being a really great dad.
I love it.
Isn't that such a contrast?
Huge.
You know what I mean?
Huge.
Yeah. So,
it's good.
that's
really good.
That's how I'm living now, to where I stopped putting all this pressure on myself. Like, I have to sell 10 million copies of my book. I have to be on the New York bestsellers list. It's that thing. But now I'm like, I'm getting there. Yeah. And it relieves that pressure of like, I'm not there yet, and oh my God, it's like, no, I'm working towards it. Like, excuse me while I work hard. That's all it is.
I love it.
So yeah.
That's really cool, man.
I love your laugh, by the way. It's the best.
Thank you.
It's contagious.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So,
with the book that you've already published, now we're getting ready to relaunch.
Yeah.
What type of success have you seen with your book? And I know that we just talked about this, so I don't want to. Again, okay. Not to put any pressure, but almost like a level of expectation, like, all right, Lord, I'm relaunching it.
Yeah.
This is what we're saying.
Yeah.
This is what I'm believing for.
Mm-hmm.
Let your will be done in it, but this is what I'm expecting. What's kind of that expectation for you?
It's funny because I have no expectations for this relaunch. I'm just doing it truthfully, I'm just doing it as a check mark on my list.
There you go.
Because I have so many other books under my belt that I need to publish.
Oh, wow.
And so I have a book called Mr. Mark Says I Can, and that's like a children's book. I have a book that I wrote about suicide and how we have to share our thoughts with others because we can't keep it inside of us, and it'll just build up and build up. So this is my motivation. Like, I'm gonna relaunch my book from 10 years ago, and then try to do a book every year after that. That's kind of the goal. So for 10 years, I've told people, I'm a published author. I'm on Amazon and stuff like that, and it felt really good. But I don't want my legacy to be one book about my testimony. I want my legacy to be many books. Because just like in my book, I say that we are not defined by our sexuality.
Right.
Our identity is not in, oh, I'm gay or straight or bisexual or trans. That's not how we're defined.
Right.
And so that goes along hand in hand with, I don't want to be defined by one book, one particular book. I want to be defined by a variety of books, because there's more to me than just talking about my struggles, my sexuality, my upbringing.
Right.
There's a whole other aspect of my, being a father. There's a whole other aspect of being a teacher. There's a whole other aspect of building my business with being a wedding officiant. So it's like, there's so many things to everybody, not just me.
I like that.
So zero expectations.
I like that.
Just kind of doing it to kind of complete that 10 mark.
Yeah.
And then, if it takes off and becomes a #1 seller, then that's amazing. That's great. But I've learned in life to have goals and don't misunderstand me. Although I don't have expectations, I do have desires, and I do have dreams of it, going all over the world, but that expectation is not there, but that desire for it to do well is definitely still there.
I love it.
So
I love it. So let's dive in a little more to some of the other books that you've already.
Yeah.
So that to me is super exciting.
Yeah.
So when you start talking about that, I get
Yeah.
excited on the inside.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so you named two,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got, I know you've got
another one.
Yeah.
Another one. Yeah. My third one is, so it's Mr. Mark Says I Can.
Right.
It's basically like a children's book. Like, if nobody ever told you that you can do it, Mr. Mark is going to tell you, I can do it. Yeah, you can be a firefighter, you know, fight fires. You can be a gamer and play video games, and you can be a YouTuber. Like, I just want to put that out in the world, because I feel like so many children that I've taught, or that I've my nieces and nephews, or whoever, so many of them kind of never really heard that just in plain sight. Like, you can be whatever you put your mind to be. It's always like, you know, what favorite video game do you have? Or what, you know, it's always that, like, let's talk about your feelings, like, let's talk about your interests. But it's like, no, has anyone ever told you that you can be a teacher? You can be a, you know, successful house seller, you know, real estate agent or something. Like, so for me, if nobody in the world has told these children that they can be something, I want to write a book that says, well, who's Mr. Mark? I don't know, but he says I can be, you know, this and that and that. So it's a short book, a children's book. I've always wanted to write a children's book, especially being a substitute teacher. And like, you know, last year I taught first grade for a whole year. And that was just like, when I was like, yeah, I have to release this book because it would be perfect for first grade, you know? So, and then if that goes really well, I'm going to do a series on, you know, Mr. Mark says I can, and then I'll release a book that says Mr. Mark says I can't. And then, like, you know, like, don't, you know, put your hand on the stove. You know, like, you can't do that, you know, you'll get burnt, you know, so, very elementary, but I think it's very necessary because, you know, we're not getting that a lot in today's time, I believe. And, although I know many good parents, I think reading a book like that before bedtime or during bedtime would really be cool, you know, to have a book like that.
I think it helps reaffirm what parents are already saying. If they're saying it, but they're not saying it and they don't know how to say it. It helps open that dialogue with the child. Hey, these are things that we shouldn't be doing, right?
Yeah.
And I think it like it's like a segue. It's like a good segue for them.
Yeah.
You know.
I just thought of something right now. Like, whoever's listening, please don't steal my ideas. I haven't published them yet. I'm out here spilling all these like knowledge bombs and stuff. But do not, you know, this is what date? It's like June
21st, 2023.
This is my idea.
It's 7:30 almost.
I don't want to sue you.
We don't want to sue, but we will. We will drop the hammer on all of y'all. Okay?
So I won't go into depth too much about all the books, but that's you know, 2 books. So I know it's okay. It's not your fault. It's me. You know, I'm glad the Holy Spirit told me like, hey, you know, don't divulge too much into depth. But that's the concept of the first and second book, and then the third book is you know, not to be a downer or talk, you know, make the mood a little bit heavy, but I've had several friends commit suicide, and so the most recent friend was my best friend Chandler. His older sister committed suicide. It was horrible. Super horrible. She was actually Miss USA in 2019.
Really?
Yeah. So she was an extra correspondent, and she was just an attorney, and like she was just so successful and beautiful, and just a beautiful soul. And you know, she was struggling with high functioning depression. Wow. And so she, you know, her story really, really impacted me, along with other people that I've known throughout my years. You know, I think 3-4 years ago, my good friend Jared Wilson, he was a pastor at a mega church and here in Southern California, and he committed suicide. And he had 2 boys, and it was just so devastating because me and him would like text and talk and stuff like that. So all that to say, what I've learned from these stories of personal friends who've taken their lives is to really share your thoughts. And that's the name of my book. It's called Share Your Thoughts. And basically it revolves around the concept of, and it's kind of like a Dr. Seuss type of book, like share your thoughts in the mall, down the hall, you know, like it's kind of like a rhyming book. But it's important to hear that we need to share our thoughts, and it may not be with the world. You don't have to, you know, broadcast your thoughts. You don't even have to be forced to share your thoughts, but it's helpful to tell a trusted friend, hey, you know, I had this weird thought about, you know, maybe picking up a gun and, or something like this crazy thought came into my brain, and just verbalizing it. Because what I've learned, although I've never struggled with suicide, I've struggled with other things. And what I've learned is that whenever you're struggling with anything, if you keep it internal, if you internalize it, it becomes this huge thing.
Right.
But the moment you speak it out or you talk to someone about it, it's almost like the bubble or the balloon bursts and it becomes this like puny little thing. It's not this like overwhelming thing. So the longer we keep it inside our hearts, our mind, the bigger it gets. So I'm just encouraging people to share your thoughts.
You're so right, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Just from me personally, you did tell me you read a portion of
some of your book.
right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So the one thing that I didn't do was dive into that situation. And the reason why I didn't want to dive into that situation at that time was because I didn't want that to be like an overpowering.
Right, it's very heavy.
It is. And I didn't want it to distract from what God was really doing.
Right. I love that.
But it's something that, like, if I could just knowing. And you were talking about the book. Literally, I had no idea what I was really going through at that time. I had a friend of mine ask me, hey Justin, do you mind answering a couple questions? And actually, it was Alex. He was reading my book, and I come into the office one Saturday afternoon. He was like, hey, I'm almost done with your book. I'm like, dude, that's so cool, thank you. And he's like, I've got some questions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool, shoot them. And he's like, well, they're kind of sensitive. And I'm like, oh, I know what you're going to ask me. And so we talked about it a little bit. And looking back, I had no idea that I was depressed. I had no idea that I had anxiety. Like, I didn't know there was a label for these things.
Yeah.
And when I was going through it, when I was struggling through this stuff, I didn't even know I had talked to anybody.
Yeah.
And the people that I would try, let's say, even try to talk to, or it's almost like it's this internal, I want to scream out for help, but if I scream out for help, you might look at me funny, right? Because you see me on the outside and I'm this big, strong guy and I've got things going on, right? But you don't know that on the inside I'm hurting, right? I'm broken. I don't even realize I'm hurting. I'm just trying to like stuff everything down, right? And it was like something inside me snapped.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what that was, and didn't voice it to anybody. Like literally, like in that moment, and it's in the book, right? There's some small detail in there, but I'm driving, I'm hearing people argue in the van, right? And I just snap.
Yeah.
And I don't say anything to anybody, but literally inside me, all I kept hearing was, I'm gonna go to 7-Eleven, I'm gonna go grab these pills, and I'm gonna take them. And nothing's gonna happen to me because I'm Superman. And but that kept playing over and over and over in my head. That I'm Superman, nothing's gonna happen to me, right?
Which is a lie,
Yeah, because I'm not Superman.
Right. I mean, and the result of taking a bunch of pills normally doesn't go well.
He's like, it's not really this isn't gonna end well for you.
But those reoccurring thoughts, it all comes down to those thoughts in your head that you need to let out.
And it was like Brian and I were talking about this too yesterday, and he was saying that because Brian had his own struggles with that, and the thing that he mentioned was it was almost as if he didn't have control over his body. That he was crying.
I hear that too.
And like
oftentimes
he was literally getting ready to do something, but he didn't have control of his hands. He didn't have control of, you know, what he was doing. And when he voiced that, it was like a light went off, because looking back, I don't feel like I can't look back and say I knew what I was doing, I was in control of what I was doing, and because I can't, because I realized that it wasn't until I got outside of the 7-Eleven and I'm in the van that I realized, oh shoot, something is going to happen to me. And I'll say this, I feel like my fear of needles was the thing that probably saved me.
Wow.
Because it was like, I remember the train of thought was, oh man, they're gonna want me to go to the hospital. I'm gonna go to the hospital and they're gonna put an IV in me. And I'm like, oh wait a minute.
You don't like needles?
I hate needles.
Wow.
Oh no, you really messed up.
Yeah.
That was what, and I stopped the van from driving because I wasn't gonna go. And I'm like, I'm not going to the hospital. And I'm like, oh shoot, if I go to the hospital, they're gonna put this IV in me. And I'm like, I need to throw this up right now. So I tried, and then I realized, oh no, I'm trying to throw up and I can't. Oh man, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But, and it's crazy, bro, like, understanding that it's beyond, to me, it's almost beyond a pandemic. Okay? Because I feel like, I hate saying I feel, looking at things statistically and understanding that suicide is on the rise.
Yeah.
People across the world with depression, or that are diagnosed with depression and anxiety, is on the rise. And it's like, what do they do? What help do they get? And I can appreciate medicine to help stabilize somebody, but to me, this is my own feeling, my own thought, to me, that's not the end game, right? That's not the thing that's gonna cure me. It's masking things for now.
Right.
And I've always believed that it's almost as if like you'll hear pastors say, you know, hey, go to the doctor until your faith gets a little stronger, right? Like, yes, you're sick. Yeah, you broke your leg.
Yeah.
Yes, there's healing for that. But if your faith's not there for it, right? And sometimes I feel the same way with medicine, with people who are struggling in those areas. It's like, what are the I don't want to say tactics, but what are the skills that we need to adopt so that we don't have to be dependent on, you know, on pills, on medication.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that book.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited for it too. You know, I'm gonna dedicate it to my best friend's sister, Chesley, and my friend Jared. You know, my other friend Micah, and then David. So there's people that I know. You know that they, and you know, all these people were very charismatic people. You know, there are people who gave and gave and gave, but you know, who were the people they trusted enough to talk to?
Yeah.
You know? So, but going back to what you had said, you said something that I just kind of want to point out that was really good, and it's a skill that you probably didn't even know that you mentioned, which was you didn't go into depth about your level of suicidal thoughts or that situation because you didn't want it to overpower your book right now. Many authors have that issue or that good problem where they have so much to say and they can go into depth about certain things, but you can just put that on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's a whole book in
Right.
itself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I love that you were intuitive enough to say, you know what, not right now. That's for my next book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So keep that going, because we as authors can oftentimes be selfish and want to just, well, we're going to put this heavy stuff in. And, and we have that, like, you know, because we naturally want to share, it becomes this, like, I'm going to share everything all at once.
Right.
You know, and it's so important and so critical to really be intuitive to say, is this the time? Is this for this book?
Right.
Maybe this is for my next book or my fifth book. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm so happy you didn't go into depth on that.
Yeah.
You know?
Man,
so that's a good skill. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I hadn't. I hadn't really thought about it too much when, and you know, like writing that, because but afterwards, that's kind of when I started thinking about, like, yeah, maybe I really should tackle this, and shed a lot more light on it, you know, and so yeah, that's coming. There's a couple other books that, even for myself, that I have.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think, you know, authors are not often one-time authors. You know, you hear of songs like, oh, one-hit wonder and stuff like that, but I believe authors have, even one-hit wonders, there was an album somewhere, you know, there was some more songs somewhere, they just didn't get as popular. So even for authors, I believe authors have a lot of books under their belt. You know, they just have to dedicate the time and the energy and really craft it into what they envision that next book to be.
Right.
So the last book I'll bring up, because I don't want to give away all my ideas, because I have a lot. The last book is, it's called Me to the Power of 3.
Okay.
And basically it's 3 words a day, basically. And you just kind of meditate on those words and learn about those words. So, for example, you know, it could be like purpose, peace, and patience.
Okay.
You know, 3. So I pick a letter, and then all the 3 words have to start with that letter. So purpose, patience, and peace, and just kind of like encouraging the reader to, you know, maybe there's a story, I talk about purpose, and short little story about peace and patience. And then at the end, I encourage the reader to reflect on what those words, reading those words, what did it bring out in you?
Yeah.
You know, so Me to the Power of 3. So each day you kind of get 3 words and you kind of just run with it. So that's one other book that I'm cultivating.
Can I ask you this question?
Yeah.
Because I struggled with this while I was writing.
Yeah.
And
I love that you're a published author, because I don't talk to many of them.
So when I was writing, one of the things that I struggled with, because I don't have a huge vocabulary.
Oh, man.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's like,
same. Ask someone else. Yeah.
Because I've read other books from other authors, and I'm like, man, you've got
you're being so real.
Right, these descriptive words.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, I can't
articulate yourself that way.
Same. And I started to find that even when I was writing, like, it was almost as if, like, each page, I don't want to say was saying the same thing, but you got, like, I say awesome all the time for everything.
Right. You're like, really? Awesome.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
I totally know what you're talking about. And I had the same problem where I'm not like, I don't have this wide range of vocabulary words that, you know, as you read it, you're like, ooh, that's a good word, or ooh, that's a strong word, you know? But I think the type of books that we have written, they don't really require a lot of lengthy, unfamiliar words. I think
Right.
the type of audience that we were trying to reach, at least in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a story of experience and our heart. And
Yes.
so whenever someone's speaking genuinely just for who they are and how they speak and how they write, I think it really translates well to the reader, because they're like, wow, this author is not trying to be fancy.
Right.
It's not trying to like describe these like articulated, beautifully said scenarios. This
Right.
author is just being raw.
Right.
You know, and I think we live in a culture where authenticity and being raw is very, very highly looked upon. And so it's something that you and I just did because it was raw and it was our honest way of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you're you know,
Okay, good.
no
Good.
issue with that.
I'm good.
No issue with that. However,
Uh-oh.
I think it's important to evolve as authors and
I like
really evolve, and your next book can include a little bit more stronger vocabulary in your next book and I think even as we become readers ourselves and begin to read other people's books and more books, it strengthens our vocabulary. So naturally we're gonna become better writers.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, good question though.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah.
For me, it was this internal struggle, you know, where I started almost to feel
totally.
like this isn't even like, am I really adequate enough to be writing this book right now?
Yeah,
You know?
I love that you
And
said that.
Are
Yeah.
people gonna look at it like, oh man, this guy's stupid? You know?
Yeah, and people will, no matter if you write a really, really intelligent sounding book or not. Everyone's gonna have opinions,
Yeah.
you know. So
Oh my gosh,
everyone.
yes.
So you might as well stick to being raw and
Right.
honest and true to yourself. And like, that's not me at this point in my life.
Yeah.
So you're gonna call me stupid either or. So
I
yeah.
have one friend, and if he watches this, he'll know who he is, right? But he will
Yeah.
remain nameless. But it was almost as if like he pointed out all the flaws.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
all the typos. And I'm like, I know I've got typos, okay? I know I do.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I'm not-
You just did
Like
it.
I edited myself,
Mhm,
right? Like
mhm.
I know there's typos in there. Do I know how to format a book? Nope, I don't.
Yeah.
I did my best, you know.
Right.
And,
right.
I
Yeah.
definitely was like running the hurdles for the first time. You're probably gonna hit one of those hurdles and fall.
Totally.
You know? And-
Totally.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. You
Yeah.
know, because I've already, you know.
You learn. You live and you
Learn,
learn.
yeah.
You know. But I think the thing that I heard a lot of people tell me, and I'm sure you've gotten that same reaction, is kudos to you for even having a book out there. You know,
Yeah.
like that's actually takes time, effort, you know, energy and dedication to actually do it, because there's a lot of people who have that desire to write a book or become a published author, whether it's self-published or through a agency, and they never do it, you know. So
Right.
so for us, we might have produced something that might seem mediocre or might seem not up to par in other people's eyes, but we did it, you know, and it's out there, and we did it with the intention behind us, to be, you know, to help someone,
Right.
to kind of share, because you and I love sharing just naturally, you know, so why not share in print, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's,
you can have
that's a
me
good
all the time.
yeah, hence this podcast, and like, you know,
Yeah.
we love to share.
Yeah.
So ultimately that's our intention, but I think the key is to improve each time. Now, if we've written 20 books and we still sound like our first book and it has all these typos, you know, every book had like, you know, typos in it, then that's like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
But if we have that improvement, that experience, and that expansive vocabulary that just kind of naturally grew over time, then I think we're on the right track, and that's commendable.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, so you wrote your book 10 years ago. I am 100% sure I'll say 99.99% sure that at that time we didn't have apps like Grammarly. You know,
Correct.
Grammarly, right?
Yeah.
So I used Grammarly, and I'll say this, and this is not anything bad against Grammarly.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the outcome because it gave me a very generic, like it would give me suggestions.
This is bland.
Right, very bland.
Yeah.
Just regular kind of suggestions, and I'm like, okay, cool, and maybe this is my own fault too. Like user error. I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'll trust Grammarly, right?
Yeah.
And then
doesn't sound like
edit, and
right.
then go back, and I'm like, what? I wasn't really trying to say that.
Right.
You know, or
right.
that.
It took it a different direction.
Right.
Or I love that you brought that up, because I think authors, well-known authors, have a style, and they have you can like recognize their writing, you know, in each book. And so I think that's important, because no, I didn't have Grammarly 10 years ago. The newest one is ChatGPT, you know, it's like the AI, you know, generator, and you know, a lot of my students try to use that for that.
Really?
Yeah. And you know who you are, and they try to use it, and it sounds nothing like them. And I'm like, you did a great job on your essay, and I know it's not them, and I know it's nothing like them. So that's the key, is you don't want to overuse or solely rely on apps or the newest technology, because your voice is your voice.
Right.
That's like saying, okay, I'm going to tell you my story, Justin, and you write the book because I told you. It's like, well, you're going to kind of write it how you write. You know what I mean? So it's like, why are you going to do a disservice to yourself and depend on these apps and these, you know, third parties when you have a style, you have a personality, you might as well say it yourself. So
I love that.
Yeah. But there's so many changes from when I first published to now, you know, like, I mean, some people I don't even talk to that helped me out with the book, or, you know, I think back then I even like raised funds for the book.
Right.
And, you know, I wouldn't do that today. I would not do that, you know. So there's just different, you know, each time comes with its surroundings. So back in, you know, what was it, 2018, 17, it was a different time, you know. So yeah, so I'm excited to re-release it. And you know, you had mentioned, I think one of your questions was, what was the success of the book? You know, and to answer that question, one thing comes to mind is on Amazon you can write a review, you know, about the book that you read. And one anonymous person, actually it wasn't anonymous, I think his name was David. Until this day I don't know who this David person is, but he wrote just one sentence on the review, and he wrote, "Mark, your book changed my life," or "saved my life," or something like that. I have to go back and read it, but he wrote that, and when I read that, it brought me to tears. You know, tears were starting to well up, because I thought that was why I was so vulnerable and released such a personal book. Is so that way I can help at least one person, somebody out there. You know, and for me to see that on Amazon review, you know, it really kind of fulfilled my desire for it to reach people and stuff. So that was just one person.
That's huge.
So shout out to David, whoever you are. Please email me, reach out to me if you're seeing this.
Say what's up.
Yeah, I want to know, like, you know, more.
But
yeah, so that was really beautiful. And, you know, a lot of my family was supportive about the book. And, you know, I'm very open about my childhood and my experiences with identity and Christianity and sexuality and all of that. And I think we live in a time now where it's not as taboo. 10 years ago, it was like, ooh, that's kind of too personal. Or now everyone talks about their gender, you know. So it's like I'm
everything's
curious.
out there.
I'm so curious to see, 10 years later, how the book's going to be received now, because it's kind of not that taboo. It's kind of like, ooh, this is a cool story, rather than like, ooh, this is a personal story.
Right.
I really am excited to see new readers and how they react to it in today's time.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Now, you said that you brought something with you today.
Yes, I did, actually. Yeah.
I want to give you the opportunity to read that.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. Thank you.
So, go ahead. Introduce away.
Okay. All right. So for those of you listening or watching, I am a substitute teacher. So I have been a substitute teacher for 4 years now. And I'm in the process of completing my teaching credentials so that I can have a classroom of my own again.
There you go.
And so one of the I taught middle school since January till June. I was teaching middle school, and one of the assignments that I gave the students was to come up with personal rules that you want to live your life by. Whether they're rules that you're already abiding by or rules that you strive to abide by. So I enjoyed this assignment so much that I was like, what are my rules? Like, I'm gonna write rules of my own,
I love it.
So I thought, like, I'm gonna write 7, because 7 is like the magic number. It's like a lucky number. And I ended up writing 15 because it just I couldn't stop at 7, I couldn't stop at 10, I couldn't stop at 12. Like 15 is what's in me, So these are my 15 rules for life by an American public school teacher, So number 1, look for the truth in all things.
I love it.
So number 1 is just looking for that truth, because we live in an information age where we're constantly bombarded with just information. Whether we're scrolling through TikTok and we learn about the submarine of filled with billionaires who got lost, or we're just learning about that, or we're learning about how to put chia seeds into your smoothie and the benefits of that. It's like we're just so bombarded with information out there, and we'll be surprised that some of it is purely opinion, or some of it is a darn right lie, it's fake, so it's like search for the truth in all things, because I think we have to learn that skill to deliberately search for the truth now more than ever. Back then it's like people were kind of honest, and people were you could kind of see if like they were lying, or you could kind of know like, okay, yeah, that's not factual. But now it's like so many things sound factual, and so many people speak as if it's Bible, that it's hard to determine what's true or what's false,
Right.
So so that's number 1. Look for the truth in all things. Number 2, and this is something that I really practiced in the past 2-3 years, is number 2 is accept the things you cannot change.
I love that.
And I used to be against accepting because I thought it meant you failed. Like, I'm not going to accept it because, no, there's always room for improvement, or you can always like work on it. I've learned, I'm almost 40. I'm going to be 40 in 6 months. And I've learned that some things you just have to like lift your hands up and be like, all right, that's the way it is. I'm not going to be arrogant anymore like I was in my 20s and be like, but there's a possibility that you can change it, or there's a possibility that, you have to be optimistic and all this. It's like, bro, just accept that it happened. So I think that's a really big lesson that I want to share with the world, is accept the things you cannot change. And I don't know if you know this about me, Justin, but every year in like December, January, I sit alone and I think about what is the word that's going to carry me throughout the year. So like one word, like destiny or, something like that. So my word was truth, I think in 2020. And then 2021 was acceptance. No, 2021 was, I forgot. I have to look back. But I know one of them was truth. 2021 was correction. That was the word of the year, and I was definitely corrected in a lot of ways. And then this year is acceptance.
I like it.
So I've been learning how to accept where I'm at, because I'm such a striver and I want to like be all these places and do all these things. And sometimes you just have to kind of not settle, because settle's a completely different word.
Right.
But just accept where you're at and keep going.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was a huge personal revelation for me this year, is just to accept the things you cannot change.
Good.
So number 3 is remember that you are always becoming something. And we kind of touched on that earlier in our conversation about the pressures of being a great dad or being a good boss or being this. But if we have that mentality that we're working on it every day, then that's good enough for us.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about is the flip side to we are always becoming. The kind of darker side to that statement is we might be becoming something really ugly.
And
that's tough.
Yeah.
Because every day we're becoming something. So if I'm working out every day, eating healthy, eating clean every day, I'm becoming really healthy and strong and energized. But if I'm stuffing myself every day with pies and donuts and ice cream and I'm not working out, I'm not drinking water, I'm becoming a slob. So it's like it works both ways. So the fact that number 3 is remember that you are always becoming something. It might sound inspirational at first, but it's like up to you. What are you becoming?
Right.
Because we're always becoming something.
Right. I love it.
So yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So be careful out there, because you're either going in a direction that you want to go or a direction you don't want to go in. Number 4, and there's 15, so I'm going to kind of speed it up. But number 4 is fill up your day. So plan your day out. There's so many people that just kind of like, I'm like, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? I don't know. It's like what?
Yeah.
Just work, it's like, I don't know. And it's like, I want to like shake those people and say, okay, well, what are you doing after work? And what have you been working on? And what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so life is so short that we got to just plan our days.
Yes.
And not only our days of like our to-do list, but plan to relax.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Plan to spend time with your children, or plan to, organize whatever, your closet or whatever. And it's like those things that we write out or we plan. If we don't get to all of them in one day, we have the next day. You know what I mean? But it's important to have those things. Like I get scared when people are just like, I don't know. That's very, very scary, because we are only allotted a certain amount of years in our life.
Right.
And it's like, why not live it to the fullest?
Right.
By planning out your day.
I love that.
And it's like so many people are like, oh, well, I'm not a planner, or my girlfriend's the planner, or whatever. It's like, we're all planners.
Yeah,
like, we are all capable. You better learn. Yes, that's so true. So, this is, I teach middle school, and so I encourage the students, like, plan, even if you want to plan for the future, that falls under the category of planning.
Right.
But this is referring to fill up your day. So plan for the day.
I like it.
Number 5 is to treat yourself sometimes. I think you and I are really hard workers, and we always have things that we're doing. But hey, treat yourself sometimes.
Yes.
A cookie or something, because I think we forget sometimes when we're on work mode to kind of reward ourselves a little bit here and there.
Right.
In moderation, though, not like, oh, today I'm treating myself, tomorrow I'm treating myself,
I woke up on time, I'm treating myself. I got to work on time, I'm treating myself. I made it home on time, I'm treating myself.
I walked through my door, I'm treating myself. Like, it's like, bro, don't misabuse what I said.
Oh my gosh, some people celebrate everything.
Yeah,
dude, it's like,
it almost dumbs down the big accomplishments.
Right, because you're constantly celebrating those
Yeah.
little things. And it's good to celebrate, but what I'm talking about is like actually treating yourself to something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So number 5 is treat yourself sometimes. It doesn't say all the time. You know? So calm down. Number 6 is this might be controversial and people might, come for me for this, but number 6 is there is a creator, and I don't want to be apologetic about something that I've searched out and I've found. And one thing that I tell everyone is like, especially being in a middle school teacher, public school, I'm not supposed to talk about religion or infringe in their beliefs. But I always tell people, if you are searching for something, you're gonna find the answer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that simple concept, it will bring you to the realization that there is a creator. This just didn't happen out of nowhere.
Right.
You and I just weren't like perfectly designed and like our body works perfectly and like it just didn't just kind of happen. There's a design, and if there's a design to things, there's a designer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like that simple thing of like, hey, there's a creator, search for it. That goes hand in hand with number 1, look for the truth in all things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you kind of search for a creator or search for the fundamentals of creation and how we came about, you're gonna find an answer. And there's a really good movie called The Case for Christ.
Ooh, I love it.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
I read the book.
Yeah, and it's just such a good movie because this person was an atheist and he was a news reporter and he just did not believe in Jesus.
Right.
And he was out to write an article that disproved that there was a Jesus, and in that process he found that there actually is. You know what I mean? And it's like, do the work.
Yeah.
Like stop saying, oh, I don't believe in God and blah blah blah, without ever trying to search.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, if you search for even scientists are backing up the Bible like crazy.
Right.
If you type in like scientific proof that the Bible is accurate or factual or real, there's tons of like really, really hardcore scientists and like historians who actually found out that the Bible was accurate about certain things, about everything if they really search everything. But anyways, so yeah, so that's like a huge one. Is number 6 is there is a creator. Number 7 is reflect on things in life with gratitude. I think so often we don't even have time or make time to reflect and look back on things. And I was reading an article today where they were talking about how it's actually healthy for us as humans to reflect. It's a healthy thing. It's not an abnormal thing or it's something we should shy away from.
Yeah.
It's really important for us to reflect throughout our as we live life. And so, but I'm just not going to stop there and saying reflect on life. I'm saying reflect on life with gratitude.
Yes.
And the thing about me is I'm going through a divorce right now, and I can reflect and say, dang, I wish that never happened, or I wish, that just didn't end that way. But I'm learning to reflect and say, I'm thankful for those years.
Yeah.
I'm thankful to have known such a beautiful woman. I'm thankful to have kids from my ex. You know what I mean? So it's like if you reflect even on the bad things or hard things, but you look for something to be grateful about that situation, it's going to cause your reflection to be that much more rich and beautiful. And so often we could reflect and then get sad because we're like, oh, I missed that person, or I miss when they were alive, or I miss, my dog from, when I was a kid, whatever it is. And you're reflecting, but you're doing a disservice to your mental health because now you're depressed, now you're sad, now you're envious to the person who still has their dog alive. So it's like, whoa. Like reflect, but with gratitude.
Right.
And I think that just like flips
I
it
like
all
that.
around.
You know, because a lot of times, I think most athletes do this.
Yeah.
Where we reflect on the glory days, right?
Yeah.
And we miss them.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, even it's
Mm-hmm.
like, man, if I just had one more year where I just really did it right, like everything that I know now, if I could apply that just one more time, you know, and it does get sad, and a lot of times, you know, again, not to be a Debbie Downer, like, right, but we have a lot of cases of former football players, who end up ending their life because I think they're missing that part. There's the reflection, but there's the reflection without gratitude.
Right.
And without gratitude, it puts you in depression.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
And then again, it's reflecting back on something that gave you so much identity, right? And not having the true identity from the creator. Right?
You're
right. From the truth. Then it's like, I'm nothing. Now what? You know? And that's huge. I'll tell you this. Just that one, I'm going to apply. Just that one.
I love that.
I love
I love
so
that.
far, but that one right there, I'm going to apply myself because I want to be able to look back on my years and say, man, I'm so thankful for those. I'm so thankful for those opportunities.
Yeah, reflecting with gratitude is huge. And I think I wouldn't have said this like 3 years ago. You know, this is something new that I'm learning, that I've realized I've always been a reflector of life. You know, I keep everything, I save everything, I'm always like looking back, but I've seen the negative effects of that, you know, because I wanted to relive something, or I wanted to go back to something, or I get sad. So reflecting with gratitude really changed the game. So, number 8 is turn it into a positive. And it kind of ties into that. Basically just talking about perspective and how we can live our life as if things are happening to us, or things are happening for us. You know, so I want to live my life believing that things are happening for me. You know, that experience that I had as a child happened for my, you know, growth, or for my purpose, or for my calling, or so that I can help someone in the future. You know what I mean? So really turning maybe negatives or situations that we don't quite understand, and just turning it into a positive, I think will really help us in life. And if you're listening and you're like, how can you turn a rape into a positive? You know what I mean? But it's like, I believe that our perspective of that tragic time, or of that, you know, for me, it was a tragic thing to go through a divorce. You know, it was traumatizing. It was gut-wrenching. It was hard. But if I turn it into a positive and learn that, like, and perceive it from a different angle, that maybe I wouldn't be where I'm at now if I was still married, or if I was still with her, or whatever, then things change. You know what I mean? So I know it's easier said than done, but I just want to throw it out there to try to turn all your situations into a positive.
I think too, like you said, just going with it is understanding, like, I gotta find that silver lining. I have to. Because if everything is so, like, we live in a society today where everything's so bleak. The outcome of everything is going to be disastrous. But if I take a moment to step back, look from a different perspective, and find that silver lining, what's really going on here? Right? Is there an opportunity built in here? That's my silver lining. Let me attack that. Right? What am I not seeing? And if I can step back and say, okay, I see it now. I will find the positive and be able to turn it into a positive. Like, I love what you said, you know, how do I really turn a rape into a positive? Well, how do I turn a suicide into a positive? How do I turn molestation into a positive? How do I turn turn childhood trauma into a positive?
Mm-hmm.
How do I lose a loved one, you know, and turn that into a positive? Well, there's so many things that I can look back at and say, in any of those situations, we can turn them into a positive.
Right.
Again, it's just being able to view them from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Put on a different lens, wear a different lens, and look at it as something different.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if like I would say, and this is what I tell my wife is, you're not a victim anymore. Right? And I have to tell myself that too.
Yeah.
Looking back on my childhood and stuff we've gone through, right?
Yeah.
We're not victims anymore.
Right.
We can capture those moments and say, no, I'm victorious in this. I'm still here. Yeah. I'm still standing.
Yeah.
You did everything you possibly could.
Right.
And I'm still right here. Right? In the 12th round, in this championship fight, I'm still standing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm still becoming.
Right.
You know, I'm still seeking truth. I'm still.
Right.
They all tie together because it all comes down to our perspective, our mentality, you know, and I'm not, one thing I want to stress is I'm not trying to be this person that lives in La La Land. And I'm like, I'm just so happy about all the bad things. And like, no, I'm devastated about a lot of stuff that happened to me. But do I choose to stay in that mental space?
Right.
I'm not denying it. I'm not not feeling it, but I am choosing to grow. And part of my growth is changing my perspective, looking for the good, you know, being grateful. That is part of your growth. And so I think that's super key, because it's like we live in like a society today's time where it's like, oh, everyone has a therapist and everyone's all about life coaching and all this stuff. And it's like, that's cool. But what no one tells you about therapy is that they're like causing you to like relive these traumas and like dissect these traumas and like just go and like, I'm not bashing therapy, but what I'm doing is just saying that there's that different perspective that once you look at your past and feel your past, there's that other element to grow from your past. And it's really hard, and at least speaking from my experience with therapy, like shout out to Lauren Fields, which was my therapist. She was great, and I'm not saying anything bad about her or about therapy in general, but it only did so much for me, because once we dissected whatever we needed to dissect, it's like, okay, now what? You know what I mean? Now, so do we dissect another trauma, another issue, and just keep dissecting all of our lives? And this is kind of the point of therapy. Like, what now? You know? And so I have learned personally that I need more than just dissecting. I need to now change my perspective, and I need to now seek out more truth.
I like that.
And what might have been true for me might have not been true for my ex-wife or for my childhood friend or whoever, you know. It's like our truth is our perspective, and that's the only thing that we can change or try to look forward differently.
I like it.
You know, so. All right, number 9, and then there's 15, so here we go. Number 9. Speed round. Honor the helpers of your life.
I like it.
And I think there's people who help us in life. Just say thank you to them. Like, come on. There's like Teacher Appreciation Week. There's like, you know, Grandparents' Day and all these like days. Like, just, you know, thank them. You know, it goes a long way. Number 10, sharing is caring. And, you know, that's so true, because I know you like to share your life. I like to share my life. And I think the more we share as humans, and not share your dirty laundry, like don't do that. But the more we kind of talk about our experiences, the more others will feel less weird. You know, like, oh, you struggle with that too. I do too. Or, oh, you like have those nightmares too at night. Like I kind of thought that for a while. Or you were scared about this and I was too, you know, and you kind of have that like common bond that you wouldn't get if you just kind of hid it or kept it to yourself.
I like that.
So sharing is caring. Number 11 is take pictures of everything. And this is a personal one. I mean, this is kind of a unique one. No, I'm not talking to you. Apple Watch. But take pictures of everything because, you know, I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but as we get older, our memories fade. And we don't really vividly remember as we did back in the day. Yeah. So taking a picture of something really, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, or it's worth, you know, 1,000 memories, or whatever they say. And I think I've got it wrong. But a picture really does last longer. And I think it just kind of, as you reflect, you can like look at a picture and be like, man, I'm so thankful for that time, or look at my braces back then, or whatever. It's like, you know, and I think that's so important. And young people, especially middle school students that I interact with all the time, they are against pictures. Like, no, don't take my picture. Oh, no, man. Like, yeah, a lot of young people are just like, they don't want to take pictures or have you take pictures, and they're just against it. But I always tell them, hey, you're gonna thank me in like 5 years when you're like going into college. You're gonna be like, I have no pictures of me in middle school, you know. But yeah, Mr. Mark took that picture, and here you go, you know. So I really want to emphasize the importance of taking pictures of everything.
I love it.
You know,
that's funny. My wife is gonna love that.
Yeah. I'm dead serious, and when I mean everything, I mean everything. And don't think nasty. I'm not trying to. I mean, if you want to, you could, but you know what I mean by everything is, for example, today, and this is a little personal. So I called the courthouse to check up on my divorce papers, and they misplaced all my divorce papers.
No way.
Misplaced. They lost my divorce papers. So they went to they transferred me to the supervisor, and they're like, we're terribly sorry, this never happens, and did you make copies? And I told them no, I did not make copies. Like, I was at the end of the last few papers that I needed to turn in, and I just was so happy to just like get that over with, that not happy to get a divorce, but happy to just be done with the process. And so boom, turned those in, and they lost them. And so today I was like scrolling through like my thousands of pictures on my iPhone, and I found pictures of the papers that they needed. Wow. I took pictures of the documents. So I'm gonna try to submit those this week and just kind of like close that loop. But dude, I live by this. Take pictures of everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? So good or bad, it's gonna help you. All right, three more. So number 12 is something that I really want to like even stress to my kids, and I wish someone would have told me this as I grew up. A friend to all is a friend to none. I'll say it again. A friend to all is a friend to none. So I had a problem with thinking everyone was my friend, and giving myself to everyone. And at the end of the day, I felt alone. I felt like, who do I really have? You know, like I stretched myself too much. Yeah. And so I learned that, and I really want to emphasize that to my children and say, all you need in life is one or two really good friends. People who have your back. That's really all you need. Because a coworker is exactly that. Just someone you go to work with. Right. A classmate is exactly that. Someone you go to school with. A teammate, someone who's on your team. Right. We have to stop saying everyone's my friend. Oh, my friend from school. My friend from are they really? Are they really your friend? Do they know your mom's name? So it's like, I really want to emphasize that, because I just wish someone would have told me that at a young age, that a friend to all is a friend to none. So do you want none friends, or do you want that one or two really good friends that you've been cultivating? Yeah. You know? So, and especially being a teacher too, I always give that lesson to people and to my students, and I'm like, are they really your friend? You know, and not trying to be a downer, but you gotta evaluate. You know, not everyone in this classroom is your friend, and that's okay. What? Tell me.
So Brian tells me yesterday, he says, Justin, being your friend is a full-time job.
It is.
And I'm like, I just started busting up laughing.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sorry. He's like, no, it's okay. He's like, but I can't give my time to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and it, not to say that I didn't know it before, right? But it was just almost like a revisit, like, yeah, literally, it's my wife, Brian, Kevin Burnett, KB2.
Shout out to KB2.
There we go. And my boy Danny Lockhart. And not to say that any of the other people that I talk to aren't my friends.
Right.
But it's like, how much more can I stretch myself?
Totally.
There's a couple other ones that I can think of, you know, Alex, Andrew, these guys, like, like, it's a bondhood brother, you know, the brotherhood, Jay Sean, but at the end of the day, I can't give them all of me, right? And
I love that.
It's even for us as Christians understanding like how discipleship works, right? Jesus had the Father who he told all his intimate secrets to.
Right.
And then he had his 3 closest friends who he told a lot of intimate secrets to, not as much as he told his Father.
Right.
And then he had the 12.
Yeah.
And the 12, they didn't get as much information as the 3.
Right.
They definitely didn't get all the information that one got.
Right.
And then he had all the others, you know, the 70 behind him, behind the 12, and it's like, they barely got any information.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's okay.
It is.
And growing up, I used to think that I have to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And I have to give myself to everyone, but that damages your actual friendships. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're taking away from the people who have had your back. You know what I mean? So I learned that, and I'm so happy that I learned it, because now I get to pass it on and spread that. I didn't come up with this quote that a friend to all is a friend to none. I need to look up who the author of that quote is. But I'm taking it and I'm spreading it like wildfire, because I think it's so important, because I think true friendships are something to not take lightly, and it's something that's so necessary. Because going back to suicide, you know, if you have all these people and nobody to talk to, it's like, who are you going to share your thoughts with?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, anyway, a friend to all is a friend to none. Number 13, don't compare yourself to others. I think it's, you know, I don't want people to misunderstand me and say, what do you mean, Mark? Like, you can't have people that you admire? No, I'm not saying that. Like, you could have people that you admire. You could have people that you're like, I really like that quality about you, Justin. You know, I really like that quality. But to compare apples to oranges, it's just not.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, there's only one of you in the world. You can't, even your identical twin, you still can't compare, because it's like they're slightly different.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're all created in a unique way, so it would actually not make sense to compare yourself with someone who's just not like you.
Right.
From the bat, you know, fundamentally not like you. So I always encourage my students to don't compare yourself to others, but definitely have like role models and stuff like that. That's fine. Number 14. Ooh, man, I could go on and on about this one, but I won't. Number 14 is master at least one skill.
Nice.
I'm going to say it again. Master at least one skill. Because growing up, I was taught that you needed to be well-rounded in everything.
Right.
Know a little bit of this, know a little bit of that, like kind of, you know, get your hands wet in this area and that area. And that. But people don't seek out like kind of knowing people or kind of experts. People seek out experts.
Right.
You're only going to be valuable if you are really good at what you know or what you do.
Right.
You're going to be devalued if you're a little bit, oh, I kind of know how to do that. I kind of know. What services are you going to offer to people?
Right.
How are you going to make a living if you just don't even have one skill that you're super good at? So I am huge on like, all right, once my kids find the sport that lights them up, boom, that's all you're gonna do. Like you're not gonna be like, well, I'm in gymnastics and I'm in swim and I'm in soccer and I'm in baseball and I'm in football. No, dude, you're gonna be in one sport and master that sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, people might play devil's advocate and say like, well, what if he blows out his knee? Oh, all that for nothing? It's like, no, then he'll master another thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
That's what we should be teaching our future generations, is to master one thing. Sure, it's nice to kind of have interest in other things and oh yeah, I really like golfing. I'm not gonna master golfing, that's a hobby, but I am gonna master being, a writer or something like that. It's like, cool, you can master one thing and still have hobbies or still have interest. I'm not saying, dedicate your life and soul to that one thing, but definitely know what skill you bring to the table.
I love it.
So, and the last one is, I'm sure we've all heard, it's the golden rule to treat others how you want to be treated.
Say that again.
Treat others how you want to be treated.
For the people in the back.
Treat others how you want to be treated.
I love it.
That is so key because, there's a huge talk about Black Lives Matter and racism and even, gender being like, homophobic or whatever. There's so many critical issues in the world and social issues in the world that can really minimize if we treat others how we would want to be treated.
Right.
You know what I mean? It sounds so
100%.
like if someone were to ask me, Mark, what's your cure for the world? I would literally have that as a fundamental cure, is to treat others how you would want to be treated.
Right.
I just want you to listen to me, so I'm going to be a listener. You know what I mean? I just want you to see me, so I'm going to see you. How much, that would, even just speaking it changed the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It changes the tone and the intention and the atmosphere and the motives, you know what I mean? So if we really, really treat others how we would want to be treated, and I'll go a step further. In teaching, I treat students as if they were my children of my own, you know what I mean? And that's a step further, and I'm still a fairly new teacher, so I don't know how long that's gonna last. but right now, it's like they're my children. I'm not burnt out yet. Just keeping it real, man.
No, I know. It's just funny.
but yeah, I think that can solve a lot of our world's issues, is to treat others how we would want to be treated.
5 years from now,
I know,
like, Mark, man, how you doing, man? How them kids? Man, F them kids.
I quit middle school.
I'm done with them.
I'm a famous author now.
I'm done with them. Get them guys.
No, I love them like they're my own though right now. They're so cool.
That's
I really love my students. Because you can't be a teacher if you don't like children and you don't like giving to them and really like shaping their lives and impacting their life. Like, why are you a teacher if you don't like that?
Right.
So, but speaking of children and students and stuff, I do want to skim through my students who have written their rules, because they are so smart for being like 12, 13 years old. So here's one that says, let's see, my 5th rule is to always have a smile on my face.
Ooh, that's good.
Like nuggets, right? One of my rules is don't cheat.
I like
That's
it.
good. Never give up. Find peace within yourself.
Dang.
These are middle schoolers. Another rule someone said, don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough.
Ooh.
Yeah, these are good. Another rule, trust. That was it. That was our only rule.
Man.
Trust. Yeah. Another rule, do what you think is right.
You know what? That can be said for a lot of people.
That can be really good.
Yeah.
Oh, this one was a good job, Fabian. Redefine what failure is.
Dang.
Dude, these are middle schoolers. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, another one. You can't control your emotions sometimes, but you can control your actions.
Ooh. I like it.
And the last one I'll read from Brandon is, let it go. Shout out to my middle school students. You guys are so smart and inspiring. Yeah, their rules are just, these are, young people who haven't really gotten that tainted in life, but they inspired me to create my list of 15 rules for life.
I love
So I want you to, if you're listening, think of your 15 rules for life, or 10 rules for life, or 3 rules for life, like whatever it is. I think even you, I love that you said you're going to take away that nugget to really reflect with gratitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's important for everybody to have certain fundamentals, that you personally want to live by.
Yeah,
I
agree with
think
that.
it's super important, and it will be the compass of your life.
Yeah, heck yeah. I think that's one of the things that, even coupling with what I wrote in my book, understanding that, and you'll get there, it creates a vision for your life.
Yeah.
It creates boundaries for your life. It creates, like you said, a compass, right? And that's so trippy that you said that, because that's the reason why on the front
you have a
you
compass,
have the compass
on your cover of your book. Yeah.
And there was another piece that I wanted.
that.
I wanted also the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Because having that vision, even in dark times, even in the storms,
good.
you'll have that lighthouse. Having the vision for your life gives you that compass.
Yeah.
Having boundaries, like these set of rules here, for your life. It's almost like having a credo, right? For your life, where these are the things that I stand for, right? And I don't, it's like, I love the line, right, in Scarface, where he says, I actually won't say it. He says, these are my rules and I don't break them for nobody.
Right.
And having those rules for your life will create, like I said, like those boundaries where if I'm making a decision, you're asking me to do something and it doesn't line up with what I believe and stand for, I can't do it, right? And it'll always give you that like a rudder on a ship. It's like, this is what directs my life, and because this directs my life and I live by these things, it helps me in my life. It helps me have a more successful life. And again, like your kids had said, it's like redefining what failure is. Right. It's the redefinition of success. What does success look like?
I love that.
And so I love it. Now, we're not gonna put this part on video.
Okay, all right.
So we're gonna end it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna set everybody up now, because I believe after you and I sign off here, you and I are gonna have, it's a short discussion.
Sure.
Very short discussion.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna leave you with something, and then we're gonna come back, and I think there's gonna be a big announcement.
All right.
That we'll make.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And you don't know what it is yet. You might
scary.
know.
I don't know.
You might. I don't know.
The anticipation.
I do some crazy stuff. But this has been an amazing interview with Mark Sevillano Jr. Footnotes with Justin Garland. Man, thank you so much, dude.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity.
It was absolutely amazing.
I enjoyed myself.
If nobody else sees this, it reached me today.
And
I hope it touched you guys. Again, I'm going to go ahead and say this. If you guys ever need prayer or anything like that, reach out to us. You can send us an email. You can email me personally at my email, justingarland101@gmail.com. You can also put a message there in the comments, and we'll reach out to you guys for any prayer needs or anything like that. If you want us to stand with you and believe for anything that you've got going on in your life, if you just need a little extra motivation or inspiration, feel free to hit us up. Again, this has been Footnotes with Justin Garland. We love you. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Yeah.